rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of
of the United States of
United States of
America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glad we don't have to sing together.
Really?
Hey, let me get your agenda here. Okay, approval of minutes. Monthly town board meeting of June 4th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Anybody, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
Okay, the Conservation Board met on June 9th. These are mostly repeat applications, in other words, applications that have been in the process, and I'll provide some summary updates. Garrison Fish and Game Club, this is to manage the nuisance vegetation, to treat the water, to manage the area that they want to use for recreation. The updates were that they received the DEC permit, and the Natural Resource Officer will work with them to oversee the treatment process. Next, we have 162 Cloud Bank Road. This involved maintenance and dredging on the Cloud Bank Pond to remove sediment buildup. The work done there, with the dredging work will be done hydraulically. The work also, the drainage will be done slowly in order to not disturb too much the actual wildlife inside. The updates are they are waiting for the DEC permit, and the Natural Resource Officer performed a walk down already with their hired wetland biologist. They will be coming before the board shortly to discuss the permit application's progress, and also to give their comments regarding the walk down. The next item up was Lake Celeste. This was an item in the past where they wanted to obviously be able to do some treatments to the lake. The Natural Resource Officer advised me that that permit process will go forward, and he'll coordinate with them to perform that service. The next one was Lake Surprise. This was an issue back a ways where we had non-compliance of trees cut. The Natural Resource Officer will be performing compliance inspections in the very near future. Cold Spring Farm, Route 9, near Magazzino. They're looking to do a closeout regarding environmental concerns. If you remember, this is a while ago, but this was drainage issues, specifically going down towards the Route 9 area and to the neighbor, the neighbor to the south of that property. Natural Resource Officer is scheduling that walk down and will determine if there are any open items or whether the close down actually can occur. The next item is 17 Oxyoke property. This is a property that's gone on and back and forth. This is at the corner of Winston Lane. The applicant wants to put it in a large garage. According to Greg Werner, there are still 2 open item violations, and because of the court's closing, we cannot move forward, and this has been expressed to the applicant numerous times, and obviously some measures are being asked for him to consider to move the project possibly forward. We didn't have any stormwater concerns raised at this particular time. However, we are looking to still do an update. We want to do some update information on the town web, the TV channels, to provide more stormwater education. Earlier today, I sent the board some training possibilities for you to consider with your boards. That's regarding the Headwater Streams project. It's a nice webinar project. It involves the Hudson River Estuary and also Hudsonian. This would provide 6 hours of municipal training. Obviously, we have a requirement under Chapter 48 training requirements that our board should really get 4 hours of training annually. This could provide the 4 hours, plus you can carry over credits to an additional year. So that would give them the ability for 2 more credits for next year. The difficulty with it is that it's 4 days in a row, the first week in August, the 3rd to the 7th. And the timing isn't really the greatest, in the sense it's during the day from 3 to 4:30. So that may be difficult for some people at work and so forth. But if you're able to, it would be very good. I think, for the boards to attend this and give them some additional training in those areas as we're dealing more and more with environmental issues. And our next meeting is July 14th.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Recreation.
Good evening. The Recreation Commission met in June, a virtual meeting on Zoom. And 2 issues on the agenda was the New Leaf Community Garden proposal. The survey is done and there is a draft license agreement. There is a minor change as there was a tree line in the garden, in the midst of the garden. So the commission agreed to move the garden a little further north and expand it a little bit to accommodate the tree line. And we are looking forward to a workshop on the agreement to finalize the details of that. The commission is also still continuing with the Recreation Department virtual programming for the summer months.
Thank you, Judy. Philipstown Hub.
The Philipstown Hub is continuing the virtual marathon, which ends July 15th. If anyone would like to participate or donate, go to philipstownhub.org/marathon. The hub offices were also recently reopened. And if people are in need of services, please contact philipstownhub.org.
Thank you. Planning Board. We lose Bobby?
I think we might have for a second there. Yeah, he hasn't come back in yet.
John, you want to do zoning while we're waiting?
Sure, it's going to take me a long time. The zoning board did not meet last month, but they will be meeting on July 13th via Zoom.
Okay.
Would you like me to do the highway report?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Philipstown Town Board members from Carl present the work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of June. At least 1 crew a day has been out grading roads. We must all be patient while the highway crews are getting all of our roads back into shape, and we are making headway. Summer mowing has begun and will continue throughout the growing season. A brush attachment for the skid steer has been rented for a week in order to help with the mowing of the weeds. As always, we ask residents not to throw grass cuttings onto the road. Also, please keep branches and bushes along your property trimmed back to allow for good sight distance for motorists. Pipe and basin installation work has been finished on East Mountain Road North in preparation for road paving in July or August. A resolution was passed for the purchase of an angle broom for the Kubota skid steer. By having our own sweeper, we will not need to rent one every year, which will save money in the long run, and we can schedule road sweeping in a timelier fashion without waiting for one to become available. As soon as we receive the new broom, the sweeping will begin. Phone calls to the Highway Department have picked up this month with approximately 28 calls. Roughly $13,840 was spent on vehicle maintenance for the month of June. Submitted Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent.
Well, I've seen the graders out, and I know they're getting a lot of calls because, I don't know, just feels like there's a lot of people complaining about a lot of things that are fairly insignificant at this time, especially in light of all that's going on. But people should know that the highway department's out there. They are grading the roads. They were on Lane Gate Road today. So I've seen them out, seen them on Indian Brook, all over.
And people need to remember our crew was at 50% for 2 months.
Yeah.
So during the normal grading period, Carl had a 50% of the crew. So,
yep.
And they were rotating. So that needs to be brought into
part of the equation.
Consideration. Yep.
I also think there are larger things at play here, and people need to be a little more understanding right now and work with the town, not gripe about the work that's being done. So.
Agreed.
Unfortunate. Bobby, you back? I cannot believe we don't have Bobby.
His video is back. We can't hear him though. Bobby, we can't hear you.
You muted?
I hear you.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay,
Bobby,
I had to dial in. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. I lost my audio.
I got
Anyway.
your audio, so we're good.
Okay, very good. Planning board. All right. Sorry for the delay, everybody. Apologize for that. We had a planning board meeting via Zoom on June 18th at 7:30. We had a pretty good long agenda. We returned of escrow of Glenn Ferdato at 385 Indian Brook Road in Garrison. There was discussion about this, but they put it on hold again. They tabled it, so we'll discuss it at next week's meeting, which is a week from today. There were no public hearings, but they're planning on 2 public hearings next week as well, via Zoom. So I think those emails went out. I saw it in the paper. So anyone wants to contact Tara or Kelly to get onto those meetings, please do so. First thing on the agenda was CSR Industries, the warehouse. I've been talking about this the last few meetings. To make this long story short, it's a 21,000 square foot building, 14,000 square feet of warehouse space, and 7,000 square feet of office space. They'll be employing about 14 or so people there. I reported last time, they did show the pictures of the new building, the building they proposed, and I think it's a very nice looking building. There are concerns about entry from trucks probably coming out and turning north on Route 9. But besides that, I think that's the only issue they currently have that maybe cause a problem. But that they proposed, we referred it to North Highlands Fire Company. It was reported to the New York State Department of Transportation. They are looking for a new traffic study, which not has been produced as of yet, but that's one thing that still needs to be looked at. So as of right now, everything's looking pretty good for that spot. They have 36 parking spaces as well. They can have almost 5 to 7 tractor trailers on site at one time without causing any disruption of traffic on Route 9. So it's a much better setup than they currently have today. I'm sure they're still planning on keeping the other facility open, but the amount of traffic going there will be limited substantially. The other thing on the agenda was Magazzino, the museum. As I indicated a few months ago, we originally started with a lot line adjustment. That turned into a much bigger project, as I indicated last month as well. They're looking to build a 3-story building south of the warehouse museum where it sits today. Also, they're planning on having what they call a scholar house. The scholar house, we need a little bit more detail on it because we're not sure exactly what they mean by a scholar house, how many people are going to be there, how big the house is going to be, how many bedrooms and so forth like that. So that's additional information we're waiting to get from them. But the plans that he indicated are very nice as well. As you know, Magazzino does a very nice job with everything that they do. There will be no activity in a wetlands buffer. They may have to apply for a mass gathering permit as well. A site visit was held on July 5th. I was unable to attend that because I wasn't here at the time. Another item on the agenda was William and Lisa Cummings, at 71 South Mountain Road, Spur and Garrison. They own 2 parcels of land on the northerly end of East Mountain Road Spur. The private road that is in the southern part of Philipstown, one is a vacant lot of 5.8 acres. The other is 11.283 acres, which houses 2 single-family houses on it right now. What they're doing here is basically a lot line adjustment as well, so they can make it from a non-existing conforming to a conforming lot. So that's what they're in the process of doing. It looks like they're may need some 2 variants for that. It was also referred to the zoning board as well. Last thing on the agenda, there's a Scenic Hudson Trust, 1 Civic Center Plaza, Poughkeepsie, New York. This property is Lake Valhalla. They are seeking a subdivision of 770 acres into 3 parcels. Parcel A, the 520-acre parcel, will be protected by the conservation easement and conveyed to the New York State. Parcel B is 190 acres with a small recreational structure. It will also be that would be part of the HOA association. That's where all the houses are today. That everyone lives up at Lake Valhalla. All the roads and houses and the tennis court and the lake are part of that 190 acres. Then parcel C is a 50-acre parcel, which has already been approved for a residential structure which is existing today. And they're going to that will also have a conservation easement. Our meeting was over at 9:25. The next meeting will be a week from today, 7:30 via Zoom with 2 public hearings. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Building and land acquisition. John and I met with the architect and all the contractors at Town Hall this week. There's some concern that things are not moving along as quickly as we'd like them to. We expressed those concerns, mostly based on the general contractor. The other subcontractors have been doing their work. The electrician's keen on finishing. We expressed to him in no uncertain terms that he needs to pick up the pace and man the job. So it's on record. The minutes went around. There was a lot of clarification of things, responsibilities. My estimation, at one point, he was talking in circles, but, the building looks good. He just needs to get more of it done. We got to get back in there. So what's been done is good. The report is that we're going to have the elevator at the end of this month, and then the new staircase is coming in early August. So once those things happen, then that'll free him up to do a lot of the other things like the floors. But he does have substantial trim work to finish upstairs. The courtroom looks really good. The meeting room looks really good. You want to add anything to that, John?
No, I think you kind of covered it. I think that the general contractor is a little overwhelmed with work at the moment as he specializes in school buildings.
Yeah.
But we put it into him that that's really not our problem at the moment. So he seems to be stepping up and getting himself geared up to start some heavy construction again at the end of the month, like you said, with the elevator. The stairs are key components for a lot of the completion. I know he's got somebody coming tomorrow to look at the hardwood floors to review that and to get that moving along. So I think we'll see. I think we were clear with him yesterday, and I think we'll see some progress. At least I hope so.
I don't think we could have been any more clear.
No, yeah, we were crystal clear.
With this reason, are they short-staffed in addition to the schoolwork?
Yeah, his specialty is doing school renovations, which is July and August. I mean, he could have done those in March this year, but I'm sure the work was scheduled for July and August, which he's right in the middle of now. But we're still hoping for a September, October back indoors into the building would be great.
We have to be back in there by October. There's no reason why we shouldn't be.
No.
He gets his act together, but things look good though. I got to say the building looks good. The work is good. Cemetery committee. Did we lose Mike? All right. We're
Okay,
gonna move
sorry.
this-
I was
there you-
muted there. Okay, the cemetery committee updated on June 9th. We did, as you know, in the past meetings, we talked about, we performed a lot of work in the North Highland Cemetery. Just some quick rundowns as to a little description about what work goes on there. Most of the graves themselves required a rock and concrete foundation. All of the holes were hand dug. The grave and stones have to be compacted. The concrete footing was built for each. The headstones have to be reset. Heavy parts were doweled and epoxy glued together. Much of the resetting work was done with a hoist chain, tripod. Some stones weighed 850 pounds. All right. The repairs and so forth to marble and so forth, which were the oldest, go back to the Revolution. One particular grave site, Charity Height, required a recut chiseling because the actual remnant marble was badly deteriorated. So that worked out well. But there's a lot of work that's done by the stonemason in our graves, and a lot of times people just see the top and don't realize all of the lower foundation work that has to be done on many of these gravestones. He did discuss with me some landscaping, some fill between some stone walls there and so forth. But we'll take that up with the committee at another point. But thanks to John Benjamin, stonemason does a terrific job, and we look forward to doing some more work in the future. Our next update will be July 14th.
Terrific. Thank you, Mike. Putnam County Legislator.
Hi, everybody, for including me on the meeting. Just want to give you a quick update on things that have taken place and things that I'm hoping to address on the legislature. You may read in the press this week during the full legislature meeting, I voted against the ag district parcels to be included in the ag district for Putnam County. Not for any other reason other than the public hearing was, in my opinion, botched. I wasn't given an opportunity to speak at the public hearing, to comment, and neither were some folks who were registered on the meeting. So I did not feel that the public had a sufficient opportunity to address it. So I don't know how the press is going to twist that, when it comes out, but that's the reason. I'm fully in support of agriculture in Putnam County, including the parcel in Philipstown. The process by which it was orchestrated with the public hearing disenfranchised me and the public. So I had asked for another public hearing and was denied, and they voted anyway to move it forward. So that's one thing. Another thing was there was a COVID scare at a large organization. You probably, I think, got information about it. I think I did see it on your website, which is really great. Tops in Carmel. There was an exposure there. You guys have provided great information about that. Two things that I'm trying to address upcoming. One is on the health committee. Again, I've requested an agenda item on the health committee agenda. I still don't have an answer whether or not my item will appear on it, but I just wanted a COVID update as to, you know, what it's going to look like in the future as far as our response. Do we have enough tests? Have we stockpiled PPE? How is the contact tracing going? I would like a public report on all of that. So hoping for that at the next July Health Committee meeting. And then I've also requested to address the Human Rights Commission, which we presented at the January meeting, and nothing has been done. Nothing has moved forward on this Human Rights Commission that we're proposing before the legislature. So I've made several requests to address it at the committee meetings, the Rules Committee meeting, and I've not gotten an answer of whether or not it will be on the July meeting. I'm hoping it will because, you know, in light of everything that's happening in our community and across the country, I think this is a really important commission to put together, and I'm really looking forward to it. Lots of people are interested in being on it and giving a lot of input. And I think that's all I have for, you know, things that stand out that will affect the Philipstown community. If you guys have any questions for me, as always, I'm here. I've had a lot of really great luck in getting response from Sandy Galiff's office in assisting people with their unemployment applications, partnering with Sean Patrick Maloney's office and getting people their PPP applications and SBA loan applications. So lots of working together happening, you know, on government levels. So it's been great. Sandy and I went out and distributed, she had hand sanitizer by the gallons to be distributed to firehouses and libraries. So we had a nice morning one day doing that. And that's all the fun that's happening on my end, but I'm always just really feel like I need to be here to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thanks. And thanks for asking for that COVID update. I was thinking the same thing myself. It's, you know, let's find out where we're headed since we've learned so much.
I'll forward the memo that was issued a month ago, but I still don't have a response. So,
Yeah, that's, you keep at it, keep after them because they seem to be singling you out for.
but I just think it needs to be addressed at
Yeah.
every chance we can.
Yeah, it's not, you're not asking a lot. It's like, let's make sure we're ready for the next wave because other states are seeing it. And sooner or later, it feels like as much as we're doing here, we're going to see more of it.
That's what's alarming. And just on another note, I do have to say, be careful where you're getting your information. The Putnam County website is still reporting that there are 0 active cases in Putnam. That's just not true. Unfortunately, one of the legislators on Tuesday night made a big report on how there are 0 cases, and that was just not true. There are active cases in Putnam. We continue to see it. And I'm not going to say that the cases are, you know, increasing in numbers, but we do have active cases, and we still have to really be cautious. That's, you know, that's not Nancy Montgomery being negative as I'm depicted as. That's me just trying to tell the truth here. So if you go to COVID Tracker, the New York State COVID Tracker, they're, you know, maybe a day behind in reporting, but it's a great tool to use to get proper information.
Thank you, Nancy. Are the county employees doing the contact tracing?
You know, that has not been reported to the legislature. I'm gonna say that I believe so, but there's no real information that the legislature has gotten on who is doing the contact tracing for the county.
Good to know.
So I believe it is county employees at this point.
Okay, thank
Well, thanks for all you're doing, Nancy.
Sure, thank you guys. It's
Important
wonderful
stuff.
to have a great partnership with you guys. Thank you.
All right, on to the agenda or the public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Philipstown on July 9th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. via Zoom. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear comments for or against a proposed local law entitled the Town of Philipstown, Temporary Moratorium on New Land Use Development on Properties Located on Upland Drive, Ridge Road, and Cliffside Court. A complete copy of the local law is available for inspection upon request sent to townclerk@philipstown.com and is also available on the town's website, philipstown.com. Dated June 19th, 2020 by order of the Town Board, Tara K. Percatello, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Tara. So this is something we probably would not be doing had it not been for the actions of Putnam County. Putnam County has made it clear they're going to start selling off properties and parcels that they've gotten for back taxes. That's not going to be helpful to any of the residents on these roads listed in this moratorium. These are substandard roads to begin with. They don't meet town specifications, and the last thing we want is a flood of development. Excuse me, on a substandard road. Some of these roads, the grades on them, as Mike can attest to, are in excess of 15-16%. They're dirt, and it's just not, they're not suitable for any further development at this time until we figure something out. So one thing we're going to have to look at is upzoning those areas. So if there is development, we're not looking at what were formerly very small parcels for summer community becoming, McMansions on tiny parcels and just adding to the overall stress and strain. So I don't know if the board has anything to add to that, but the thrust of this is to try to get a handle on those roads before we get slammed with a lot of development.
No, obviously, you're absolutely correct. Some of those roads, especially on upland, which we went and investigated, are really dangerous. I don't even think they should be open, especially at nighttime, because you could go down some of them, and depending upon your vehicle clearance, you could be in serious trouble. So I wouldn't understate those problems. I think, without a doubt, and I've spoken to the neighbors and everything, and everybody, we've had meetings in the past, and we really have to have a handle on that, because it can get out of control very fast. And it's an environmentally sensitive area, as you've been saying. And if we were to put all of these houses on these sold properties, that could really put a tremendous strain on that area and affect the people that are there now, environmentally and so forth, and road safety condition. A lot of people who are getting up in years have been contacting me as well, because now I may, meaning that they may need an ambulance or something, and am I going to get it there with these roads the way they are? So there's some real genuine concerns.
Thanks, Mike. Anything else from the board? Do we have any comments from the public on this?
I know there's a few people who want to comment, but I know a lot of people are new to Zoom, so I'm waiting for a few hands to be raised or comments to be sent in chat as requested. Go ahead. Can you state your name and your address? Nancy?
Hi,
Oh, I have can you state your name for the record?
Elizabeth Coulomb,
Thank you. And your address, please?
88 Upland Drive.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to comment in favor of the building moratorium. We've lived here for 6 years now, and the road has difficulty with the traffic that we currently have on it. And I do not think that we can handle additional traffic at all. You even see a difference in the road when if it's rained a lot and then the garbage truck goes through. It's just there's not the frequency with which we get very deep and dangerous potholes, not even addressing the section of the road that's essentially closed right now, just the rest of the road, even the frequency with which we get very deep potholes, struggle with the culverts. It's just the idea of more houses adding additional traffic along it. I don't think the road can stand up to it. And then there's that section that is essentially closed right now where it's very, very difficult to drive through without something like a Jeep that's meant to go off-roading. It's not a stretch of road that people should be driving on at all. And the other concern I wanted to bring up when you had talked about the environmental impact is most of the people on this road are on well water. And some of us already struggle in the summertime with getting getting water, and adding additional housing with additional wells to the road would increase that difficulty as well. So.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well put.
There is a Nancy who has her hand raised.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Nancy Lovell, and I live at 20 Cliffside Court. I too am in support of the moratorium, and there's not too much more to add to what Elizabeth said. The roads, and I know Mike Leonard has made a trip up here several times and have spoken with several of us over the years about our concern about the substandard state of our roads. And we were seeking help as to how we could possibly improve it. But between the steep grades, the narrowness of the roads, there are several blind curves that we've had near misses. I'm surprised that we haven't had more accidents on the road of people going up around a blind curve versus somebody coming down that same blind curve and just about missing each other. And the degradation that happens with the local traffic that we have versus the forces of nature, which the torrential downpours just eat away at whatever portions of the road still remain as dirt. And the additional burden it places on everybody who does live here, because we all have to try and chip in to maintain the roads and make them a little bit more passable. And most of us are plain old middle-class folks who some of, as was mentioned, some of whom are retired and living on fixed incomes, and others that may not have, as well-paying jobs as some other people that build these huge mansions in the area. So again, I support the moratorium. And I'm not sure what the total solution is, but we do and always seek some kind of assistance with our roads for helping either with snow plowing or maintaining. I don't know what the answer is, but I've been here for a little over 20 years, and it just doesn't get any easier. It does not get any easier. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Kathleen Curie.
Hi, Kathy Corey here with my husband Gabe.
Hi.
Hi, we're on the bottom of Upland Drive, the bottom of the fishbowl, as you know, and we've been here for 40 years.
We deal with all the water issues.
Yeah, we're down at the bottom, so Bizarro is gone from 17 Old Albany. He lost it in foreclosure, so it's bank owned now. Not sure if a road study is being done currently. I know we talked about it, but wouldn't it be prohibitive as far as? Oh, you want to look at me, huh? Here we are, the old people. Road study being done, a possibility of the town taking over the road, and how much would it cost each homeowner? Because we have a very long frontage on Upland Drive. So, those are my questions.
Currently, there's, what it takes in order for the town to adopt a road is a petition signed by a majority of the residents of the road. So we haven't been presented with anything like that, so we haven't pursued anything. So that would be the first step. We've brought that to everyone's attention in the past. Anyone who's approached us, but no one seems to have taken that on as a project. But in order for the town to adopt a road, there needs to be a petition brought to the town board. There's a process for that. And that would be the first step.
Right.
I thought that the town was conducting a study on Upland Drive.
No.
No?
That's,
Not until we're presented with a petition. We wouldn't be able to expend funds without the justification, without some rationale for spending funds on that.
yeah, well, we've talked to our neighbors and they never, really got back to us about that. And, being at the bottom, we've dealt with it for 40 years. We can get in and out, but, further up, I would think they would want it paved. But, we have such a long frontage that I can't even imagine how much our portion of it would be. I know a lot of people, talk about other roads that have been paved, but
Go by that, or would it go by home?
would it go by frontage or would it just go by number of homes on the road?
On a corner lot, you wind up paying more. But again, that would have to be worked out. All that would be worked out before any action was taken.
Right.
How many residents live on that road?
Boy,
You know?
I don't know offhand. I can look it up because I'm a realtor. I can look it up in MLS, but I know the town owns a lot of property on Upland Drive.
I don't want to get overly bogged down in those kind of details right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just saying,
No, I'm saying because what we would need is a petition. That's the start. That would be the very start of this.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, next, Maria Natiello. Maria?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Maria Natiello. I live at 84 Upland Drive. I'm also in support of the moratorium as my husband. We've been here about 15 years, and we love living here. We love that it's out in the woods, but it is very difficult, maintaining this road. And we actually live closer to Old Albany. We live at the top next to Liz, who spoke before, at the top of that impassable part. So although we live closer to Old Albany, we can't use that way. So we go, the way towards Winston. And I just agree with everyone else that I can't imagine that this road could handle any more building and any more traffic. It's really difficult as it is. And I was wondering, with the petition that you mentioned, is there a certain number of residents or a percentage of residents that would have to be signing that petition? I was just curious.
The simple majority of property owners.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
All right. So that was all I had to say. I'm definitely in support of the moratorium.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea Grafer.
Yes, hi. Andrea Grafer. I'm here with my husband, Brian, as well. We are at 111 Upland Drive, just a few houses above Kathy and just below Maria. Again, we are both in support of the moratorium. We've been here for 10 years. Like Maria said, love being in the woods. We actually ourselves work to clear the road in the winter. I work for the American Red Cross. My husband's a surveyor, so the two of us have to get out in the winter. So we've spent a great deal of money in purchasing equipment such as a pickup truck, salter sander, excavator to do what we can on the road to keep it going, which is quite expensive and difficult. As far as the petition goes, honestly, I know we've talked about it some years ago. Definitely, I would like to get with the neighbors after this and putting it out there to do that immediately. I am more than sure we can get the majority. And if we get that petition to you, what is the timing on getting back to us and what would be the next steps? Because I know, I mean, Kathy and Gabe have been here for 40 years. We've had other neighbors who've been here for decades who have since moved on. The deterioration of this road that has happened over the last 10 years is exponential. You know, so I don't want it to see the next generation having these same kind of conversations. So I understand it's incumbent upon us to present you with a petition, which I'm sure we will be expeditious in doing. And then I'd like to know what are the steps after that and the timing, because I'd hate to see this be punted around. But certainly we are in support of moratorium. There is no way any building can happen on this road with it being safe and without putting our properties in jeopardy that we work very hard to maintain. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Andrea. That petition would go to our attorney. At that point, that starts a process. It's a fairly long process. We've done this in the past. But again, as I said, the first step of this is getting that petition together. I would, you know, Mike, I guess you could look into this with Steve Gaba about the adoption of the road to make sure that the petition's in the correct form, so a lot of effort doesn't go into something that's not, you know, in the correct form.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So if people have questions about the petition, they can contact Mike. Mike can get with our attorney and make sure that the petition comes in the right form and people, you know, that the work goes towards a productive goal, not towards more wheel spinning. One thing people need to realize that this petition is saying that the residents are in favor of going out to bond to do the road improvements. That road improvement is paid for by the resident of the roads. And that's done via, you know, ad valorem or through taxes. So it's a special assessment. Usually they go for 10 years, that assessment. And then once the bond is paid off, then the road is owned by the town, and then it's the town's responsibility after that.
Okay, Justin Herminghouse.
Hi, good evening. Justin Herminghouse, 44 Upland. I wanted to add to the chorus of supporting voices here. Same story, I've been here about 20 years and it's been a roller coaster. I'm not here officially wearing my ambulance corps hat tonight, but I can certainly vouch that there have been a number of incidences where we have had trouble getting emergency vehicles up here. One thing I was sort of curious about, which ties in, is right now somebody else may know the numbers better than me and maybe they're irrelevant, but we currently have 16 give or take houses, the majority of which are contributing and people are doing a lot of work to organize. But I believe the number of actual parcels on the road is 120 something. Some are owned by current residents, some are town owned, some are county owned, some are bought by speculative developers, some are owned as hunting properties. So if there's a discussion of petition or a bond issue, how would that have to be approached with non-resident landowners or municipal landowners?
Not exactly sure. I'm not sure at all. That's a good point. You know, as far as county properties and town properties, obviously those are in REMS, so they don't count. So we could put that question, Mike. You could put that to Steve Gaba.
Yes. Yeah, I made note of it.
An answer on that, Justin. But it's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Marie Isabel I'm sorry, I can't see the rest of your name.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, it's a long name. Mine's a little shorter, Jimmy Ferguson. I'm here with Marie. We're also residents on Upland. We're at 17 Upland Drive. And we also just wanted to chime in and voice our agreement with the moratorium. And we, I think that the road it's objectively bad. I think anyone who does come here, I don't think there's a subjective measure here that would consider it sufficient for building further. And I think, you know, we have to work through to find solutions for that. But I also just wanted to mention the environmental element of this road that I think is very important to the street and the community as a whole and the greater town. And I think that should be considered as we're discussing these ideas of building further. That's all.
Thank you. It's another great point. You know, we don't want to foul the environment there, and we don't want to overdevelop because, as everyone says, a limited amount of groundwater. Continental Village is a tough spot for water already. We don't want to exacerbate that in any way. So, I mean, we hear the residents' concerns, and that's the thrust of this issue, of putting forth this moratorium.
Elizabeth Colomb.
Hi. Sorry, I had a question I'd forgotten and I was reminded of it. And I'm not sure if it's exactly appropriate for this forum particularly, but something that some of the residents have talked about off and on is if it's possible to split the road. And not that we want to commit to doing it right now, but is that something that it will be possible for us to work towards if we decided we wanted to, having the two parts of the road and not having it joined in the middle, because that section is so difficult and nobody has found a way to maintain it recently. It's too dangerous to put equipment on, even to try to do anything with. And so some of the residents have discussed at different points that since we maintain the two sides of the road separately already, would we be able to officially split the road so it is not one long continuous road, but two different roads, Upland Drive, east and west? And we don't know if that's something we should even be considering because we don't know if it's possible. And I was hoping somebody could answer that question.
Again, generally speaking, a road needs to be a thoroughfare for a town to adopt it. It can't be a one-way in, one-way out, or a dead-end road or a cul-de-sac in general. But again, that's a question that Mike could put to our attorney when he speaks with him.
Okay, is there a process if the town wasn't going to adopt the road, is there a process to split it like that? And make it
road, so that would be I'm not sure, that would be a matter for a private attorney.
Thank you.
I've looked at that issue in the past when we had some meetings a few years ago. So that I've thought of that issue, so I'll bring it up to the attorney.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Nancy has her hand up again.
Yes, hi. I'm not sure how to get my video on, but that's okay. Oh, here's my video. The question that was just mentioned, it has to be a thoroughfare, a through road. Cliffside is not a through road. It's a court. So how would Cliffside fit into that type of scenario, number one? And the other question that I have is regarding the petition, and if we do get enough people, a majority of people to sign to get the ball rolling, would we have the opportunity after, I guess, the due diligence of engineering or investigating the cost and all that, would the homeowners, before a bond was taken out, have the opportunity to know how much each would be assessed each year tax-wise, how much their taxes would go up to eventually have the road brought up to code and taken over by the town once the bond is paid off. So those were the two questions that came to mind.
And it would be a process with Cliffside to investigate what the possibilities are. And it's not only about the town adopting Cliffside, it's about the town perhaps upzoning Cliffside to discourage further development, or just to make the development more sensitive to the area. We can't have quarter-acre lots. We can't have half-acre. We need, we'd have to go up like the rest of the town, saying maybe a 5-acre parcel, even on grandfathered lots. As far as the bonding, yes, there needs to be informed consent from the people who are going to be paying the bond off. So there is that process. You don't go into this blindly without knowing what you're signing on to.
Oh, okay. Then I understand the last portion, the first portion with Cliffside. So if there was a majority of people for Upland, which is a through road, because Cliffside is an adjunct off of Upland, what you're saying is Upland would not be considered a part of the town road?
No, Upland,
not Upland, Cliffside, sorry. Cliffside would not be considered part of that then? We still would be subject to some kind of development?
No, not necessarily. We're talking about two different issues here. If we're talking about upzoning and development versus the adoption by the town of a road, these are two separate issues.
The second is what I would would want to know, would Cliffside be a part of that? There's only 3 houses up here, and a majority, at least a majority of maybe 2 people, 2 houses. So if we added our names to the petition for Upland as well, would then Cliffside be a part of that project, I guess is where I'm going.
I can't answer that question. That would need something we'd need to run by the attorney to figure out. And again, this is the very beginning of 2 different processes. One is the potential to change the zoning in that area. The other is the possibility of adoption after a petition has been submitted to the town. The town, would look into that to say if it's economically feasible, even from our standpoint, because beyond the initial bond and the improvements to the road, then there's that maintenance in perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
And is it possible to get the road to some standard where it can actually call it a town road? There are other difficult roads in town that have been adopted by the town. That if you look at East Mountain Road North, that was a very, very tricky section of road, extremely steep.
Mm-hmm.
But the town owns that road. It's been paved. It's been improved over the years, and it's held up well. So usually there is an engineering solution to things.
Okay, and that eases my concern. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Waxman would like to speak. Hold on one second.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
First, I would like to address Mr. Shea. I want to thank you for taking the initiative to getting this moratorium going, because it was languishing and we all appreciate it. I also, since I'm speaking to you personally, I would like to express my admiration for you for the way you handled the COVID situation with our town, and how I wish that the whole country would have had such good leadership. We would have been over with this for a long, long time ago.
So my head is going to fit on the screen anymore.
Okay, but
thank you very much, though. That's very kind.
Okay, and it's so heart-rending now. Now they're trying to get our young children to be sent out before they're ready. So they're going to kill our young children. It's unbearable. Anyways, let me get to the road. The criteria for being allowed to build is that it needs to provide safe and suitable access. Now, this cannot be assumed that because the houses exist, that indicates safe and suitable access, because if that would be the case, then this would be like building on a regular town street. You wouldn't have this whole argument. our roads are not town maintained. There's no ongoing covenant to repair these roads. These roads go up and down the mountains. They cross and recross the natural water flow that continuously destroys the roads, and they get repaired when even four-wheel drives have a hard time driving. And right after they get repaired, the next rain destroys them all over again. These roads are inherently unstable and they're self-destructing. As other people mentioned earlier, in some places the road is impassable. Even Central Hudson, when they come to repair the power lines after the power goes down, they cannot go through the road. They have to do one section, then they have to come around from Old Albany Post Road to do the other section. Ambulances get stuck on the road. David Lilliburn, who runs the ambulance, told me personally that it happened to him. He couldn't go through. For a builder to be able to claim that the road has suitable access just because he thinks so is absurd. I think one thing that the town should come up with is that if a builder wants to build, even after it's upzoned to 5 acres or whatever, would be to have a road engineer certify that the road has safe and suitable access year-round, not just on the day it was inspected and not on anybody's say-so. If somebody has, when you build a house, you need electrical engineering, you need a proper electrical system. You cannot just say that the electrical system works because I think so. It has to be certified by somebody who actually is trained to that. The same thing happens when you put in your plumbing system or any other things. Now, access is even more fundamental. So how can somebody just say, I think it's okay because so-and-so said so? So I think this should be one of the things passed by the town, that whatever upzoning is done, before somebody builds, a road engineer has to certify that the road is suitable. And this is what I have to add to this. I'm also certainly for the moratorium. I lived here for more than 40 years, and whatever people said before, I agree with that. And I hope the moratorium passes very soon, and the road can be studied and then made proper, so that any developments that could be done in a way that it doesn't harm the people who already live here and who are burdened with, having to pay for their own water, having to pay for their own plowing, for their own road maintenance, in addition to paying this for the rest of the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Marie Isabel has their hand up again.
Hi, this is actually Marie Isabel. So I'm Jimmy's partner at 17 Upland. I had a quick question. So recognizing that the road and the moratorium are linked but remain sort of separate issues in of themselves, I was curious what the zoning options were. Is it just upzoning to sort of, I think the 5 acres was mentioned, so that it'd be sort of less buildings on a sort of square footage basis, or are there alternative options as well? What I'm thinking about here is the potential to create conservation land in some of those areas, given that Upland in particular is still quite forested and it's very different from the rest of Continental Village.
There are any number of options that can be entertained, and generally we leave that up to people who are expert at that. We have engineers, we have consultants, so this board's smart enough to know that we don't know everything. So we leave the creative parts of land use, law, and land usage in general up to experts, and we're consulted by them. But there are many things beyond just talking about upzoning. That's sort of a blunt instrument. There are many other approaches to this that could be taken, and we have taken in the past.
So a follow-up question, much like there's the possibility for a petition, for example, from the residents in regards of maintenance of the road and putting that in the town's purview, can the residents make certain petitions, for example, for converting some of the land into conservation use? Or would we have to essentially purchase the land and then convert it into conservation based on a private basis?
Right, if you want to put an easement on a property, you need to own that property.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Can we bring this focus back to the moratorium? Because I
Right.
think we're all in agreement here that we want to go ahead with the moratorium. And I'm speaking for myself, obviously, but all of these things can be addressed. As Richard said, I think we need to get an engineer involved, whether the road could even be brought to specs that could meet the town requirements. And then the zoning would all come along with that. But we need to move on with the moratorium would be my hope right now. And we can bring this all back up later.
Yeah, I agree with John. I mean, I think this is better handled as the subject of a workshop.
Absolutely.
We're getting kind of into the weeds now of the particulars, and that's putting the cart before the horse. So obviously, it seems like there's overwhelming support for the passage of this moratorium. So
absolutely.
Unless someone wants to bring something fresh to that, maybe we can move along.
I don't see any other hands up, but if there's anybody else that has a comment to make, speak up now, please.
Or please don't.
I saw somebody write it's a 6-month moratorium. So
It
somebody
can always
asked.
be extended, but our hope is that we would deal with this in the next 6 months.
Right.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Tara, is this something that we could vote on tonight?
I don't have a resolution, and it's a resolution that I believe Steve would have to write up. I don't have, so unfortunately, no. But later on in the agenda, we'll be scheduling workshops. So if you want to add it onto one of those, I'm sure we could get Steve to do something.
Okay, we'll move this along within the next 2 weeks. All right.
All right, the first item on the agenda is a resolution approving the following change order for the Town Hall renovation project in the amount of $3,181.76. And it is a time and material change for framing access for the new attic stairs for PBS construction.
So just so we can head this off a little bit, all of these change orders were something that John and I went and met with the contractor over. We did get him to reduce the numbers on them, some of them pretty substantially. So rather than going over and over this, we did meet with him. We were satisfied with his explanation of the change orders. And
It seems, I'm sorry, they seem expensive. And when you think about the work that they're doing, but in PBS's defense, they have to pay prevailing wage, and it increases the cost of these projects. And thanks to the Wicks laws, this is where we are. So
yeah, and then some of it on the face of it looks like, we thought, a set of attic stairs, but he had to reframe the ceiling in order to get the stairs up. So it was
there was a considerable amount of work.
For the stairs, yes. So we did go and meet with them. We looked physically at each change, and now I'm comfortable supporting this first one and the other ones also. So,
I am also.
Do you want to handle it all in one shot then, Richard, is what you're trying to do?
no, not really. We'll move through them. But I just want to say
Okay.
we've witnessed them. We've spoken to the contractor. We've got him to reduce the price on them as much as he could. Says he's making no profit whatsoever. He's removed his profit. But the work has been done. We do have to pay for it. And as John mentioned, with the prevailing wage, it really does drive the cost of things up substantially. All right, could I get a motion on on agenda item number 1, the change order for the stairs, new attic stairs? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next item is a resolution approving the following change order for the Town Hall renovation project in the amount of $3,240.93. And it's a time and material change for building the new attic stairs and for the install, also PVS construction.
All right, same thing. We went, witnessed this. It sounds like it's repetitious, but the other one was framing access where you had to take the ceiling apart, take the plaster down. This is the actual stairs, building the stairs up to the attic. That our building inspector assisted with. So maybe that was the discount for us. But again, I'm in favor of approving this and moving along with it.
I am also.
Could I get a motion on the resolution?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.
This item is a resolution approving the following change order for the town hall renovation project in the amount of $3,477.60. And it is a time and material change for building the walkway in the attic for PVS construction again.
Same thing. We went up to the attic, saw the framing, saw the plywood. There was, I think he said 34 sheets of plywood he had to get up there into the attic. So it was definitely a job to get it up there. That one I didn't have a problem with. Initially we did. We went up and thought, well, what's this? But once we went up and inspected with him and went through the whole series of labor that had to take place, we agreed with him. Could I get a motion on that resolution?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Keep coming. The hits.
Next on the resolution, next on the agenda is a resolution approving the following change order for the town hall renovation project in the amount of $2,982.53. And that is a time and material change for blocking sprinkler pipe and demo drainage pipe in the rear building, PVS construction again.
So this was for the hangers, for the blocking, for the sprinkler. When they went to put the hangers in, they were going through plaster. There was nothing to hang the sprinkler pipe from. So the PVS had to go in, cut through the ceiling, install blocking at each location. You've seen the size of the one sprinkler pipe in the courtroom. That definitely needed some serious blocking for it. So again, it was time consuming and there's no way around that. Could I get a motion on that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.
Next is a resolution approving the following change order for the town hall renovation project in the amount of $3,012.71. And that is a time and material change for building pipe chase for PVS construction again.
So this is 3 floors of a building pipe chase. This was to remove the old vent line, the cast iron vent. So it was removal, disposal, and then repairs afterwards. Could I get a motion on that resolution? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.
It's a resolution approving the following change order for the town hall renovation project in the amount of $2,910.08. And that is a time and material change for sheathing and blocking repair rear building for PVS construction.
This is presented as a change order because it's a change to the overall budget, but this is something we had anticipated. We did a lot for some of this. It's being done. There is a formula for this, but we did recognize that as they took siding off, there was going to be some rot under there for the sheathing and different areas. This will continue. I'm sure we'll see more of these as they take the siding off the building. But we did a lot for this, but it is being done on a change order basis so we can get an accounting of what it all comes to. Could I get a motion on that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.
There was some confusion with agenda item number 7. It is not a change order, and we are actually waiting on more information on that. So number 7 actually needs to be removed from the agenda until further notice.
All right, could I get a motion to table item 7 on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. That'll come in as a payment request. That's just part of a bid.
All right, next on the agenda is a discussion regarding Beatty and Watson's proposal for civil and site work for the new highway department garage.
I don't think there's got to be a long discussion about this. We are building a new highway garage. We do have to have a civil engineer to give us a site plan. There are many issues that need to be worked out, including, what we're going to do with the fuel tanks, where the septic system is, where the water comes in, how the whole site's going to be laid out. It's all got to be surveyed, all got to be put onto a map, and ultimately an as-built done. Beatty & Watson is essentially the only company that can do this in the whole county. They have all the maps. This isn't something we have to send out to bid because their bid is low enough where it doesn't exceed the threshold. We do want to move ahead with this. So I would just encourage us to move ahead. I mean, John, you have anything to add?
I agree. It's not the most complex situation there, although there is some complexity with wastewater because of the truck wash bay. So that will require some engineering. But I think Beatty & Watson's proposal is reasonable and we should go ahead.
Yep. Anything from the board?
I reviewed it, looked reasonable to me as well.
I agree.
Yes, we have
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, total cost of just over $16,000 to prepare the civil engineering. I know Glenn is giving us a break on that because he wants to help the town out also. We've done a lot of work with Glenn over the years. Everybody knows him. So could I get a motion? Well, we won't get a motion on that yet, will we, to accept the proposal? All right, so that'll come up in a workshop shortly. Obviously, we want to keep moving on this. So with that, everybody's informed. You can take a look at it. If you have any questions, we can bring that up at the workshop, but I would encourage us to accept that proposal.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a discussion regarding Carr Engineering's proposal for structural work for the new highway department garage.
And we've done a lot of work with Mike Carr. He's really familiar with the project at this point. We've been talking to him for a year. We've actually probably gotten quite a bit of free service out of him.
To say the least.
This is well below any threshold for consulting. I would encourage us to accept this proposal also. Mike's a good guy. He's easy to work with. He gets us things in a really timely manner. And he's just down to earth and common sense about things. We're not going to have something overblown as far as structure goes with Mike. But we do need a structural engineer when the plans come in. So we'll, with that, when we get to that workshop, we'll go ahead and hire Mike Carr, I hope. Anything from you, John?
No, I'm all on board.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. Mike's is very easy to get along with, does a thorough job, and very good at what he does.
All right.
Next item on the agenda is a discussion regarding the 3 MEP and FP engineering proposals for the new highway department garage.
So everybody's probably had a chance to look at these. Gerard Engineering has come in substantially lower. The other two, I believe, were in the $44,000 range. Gerard has come in at
37.
37. So
37.5.
and we're about $7,000 lower. This does exceed the consulting threshold, so we would have to go with a lower bidder. Justin has vetted these for us. He called up references, so it looks like we will probably be proceeding with Gerard to do the mechanical engineering for the building. It was all spelled out in what we would require from them. So, it's to do the mechanical systems for the building, including the fuel system outside and the truck wash. So when we get to the workshop again, hopefully we'll go ahead and adopt a resolution hiring Gerard Engineering so we can get moving on this. Anything for you, John?
Nope.
Anything from the board? All
No.
right.
Sounds fine with me.
So next on the agenda is to schedule workshops and meetings. Our monthly town board meeting is scheduled for August 6th, 2020, as long as nobody has any issues with that date. It's the first Thursday as usual.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm good with it.
I'm anxious to go ahead and move ahead with the highway stuff. So I would like to schedule a workshop for that, where we can have these resolutions prepared and adopt them. Doesn't seem like we have to belabor this a lot, but I would like to get these plans prepared so we can get this highway garage moving ahead. And maybe we can do New Leaf on the same night.
And also, I received a request from Carl Frisenda at Highway today. I believe you received it also through Ron for the release of the bid for the, I believe it was the Avery Road repair.
Yes.
So if it's okay with you guys, we can add that to that agenda also.
That'd be great.
It's fine.
Can I just, talking about workshops, I had Tara reach out to the Department of State yesterday as far as whether we could meet in person again. I would be more than comfortable meeting in person at the rec center starting anytime soon. It is legitimate with the state as long as we wear masks and socially distance. I don't think we have any concerns with space, obviously, at the rec center. We could set up the room so, we can maintain 10 feet apart at least, and we'd wear masks. The only concern with the rec center is there's no air conditioning, but I think we could grin and bear it for one night for a couple
It'd
hours.
be a little rough on a day like today.
It would have been rough today, but it makes people talk faster, so it'll be over quicker. So
yeah,
What about
I would be,
public attendance, John? Is that?
yeah, we could do public attendance, and the room, we'd have to calculate the volume of the room, and we could do one entrance in and one way out. And we could set chairs up similar to what they do in other meetings, set them up 10 feet apart. I mean, the gymnasium is enormous. It's 80 by 80. So, and I don't think we have an overwhelming amount of public coming to any of our workshops. But, and I would think
we announced there's no air conditioning.
Right. And I think zoning and planning are anxious to get back to meeting in person. And, I would be more than happy to go down and lay it out space-wise. Rec's not using the gymnasium at this point, so it could be set up and it could stay that way. They can do a thorough cleaning after we're out of there, and we'd all, take the proper precautions. We could have hand sanitizer at the door. I mean, I'm going to church again on Sundays, so it's laid out there. So I don't think it's any different for us to meet in person, but that's my opinion.
All right, that's fine. Let's have the workshop. I mean, is everybody okay with July 22nd for a workshop?
I'm not here. I'm in the woods, but
Okay.
that week. Sorry. Next week I'm around, or the week following week.
I'd like to get the highway stuff moving along, if you don't mind, Judy, just so we
Sure.
can. And so let's put it on at the 22nd at this point.
7:30 or 7 o'clock?
7:30.
And
Are you putting the New Leaf as well on that agenda?
Yeah, let's put New Leaf on. Let's put we'll move ahead with the Avery Road Bridge also that evening.
Okay.
And we're going to, the consensus is we would like to do this in person with this workshop? Okay, at the rec center. Okay.
And let's be clear. So as far as going forward, the zoning board meets Monday night, which is too quick. But after that, I would hope that we could start letting them meet in person as well.
Again, with all the precautions, and that's going to be up to the chairman to make sure that that stuff is met.
Well,
Right.
I'm at those meetings, so I'll make sure that they're doing what they need to do. So.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll bring it up at the planning board as well, see what they want to move forward with that.
Mm-hmm.
People will wear masks, including the public. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the only way they can come in.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
Yeah, you don't come in.
Ask to be able to come into the meeting.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
that's not a question.
And the social distancing.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So we'll look forward to the 22nd.
I can't wait to see you all again.
I can. Oh, I mean, did I say?
Hey, what about, real quick, is Cecile going to tape those meetings still? The
Sure.
planning board?
Well, I mean,
Okay.
whatever
I'm
meetings
just-
we were filming in the past will be continued.
Correct, right, exactly. I just want to make sure she's okay with it.
Yeah, good point. You can ask her.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her tomorrow and make sure. I mean, she's on the meeting and I'll probably talk to her once the meeting's over, but I'm sure we'll.
Okay.
And I mean, we filmed down there to begin with. I just have to make sure that there's no problem with doing it in the gym as opposed to the cafeteria. I don't see why there would be, but.
Right.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
If you're gonna have it down there and certain people can't get in to ask questions, are you gonna have them writing questions if you only have a limited amount of people in the gym or a certain capacity?
Well, I mean, the gym's got a pretty large capacity. If they were expecting a big crowd, they could set up, you know, I don't know how many people are going to get at a public hearing, but there is always the chance that you could have a large public hearing. We don't want to put anybody's health at risk. I will say that.
We'll have to come up with a figure for what's safe for the room. And go from there. And then we'll limit it. I mean, church is the same way. You got 80 people, the church is, so there has to be some sort of formula that we could figure it out. So.
And if people aren't comfortable, they can definitely submit their comments.
Sure.
Yeah, like I said, the planning board usually keeps it open for 2 weeks after a public hearing for writing comments.
Right. So I'm not overly concerned that the public won't be heard. We give people every opportunity to be heard. Tara, are you being attacked?
There was just a bug. It was just one bug that keeps coming from my face. Sorry. I tried to ignore it as long as I could.
All right. So we'll look forward to the 22nd.
All right. So the code enforcement monthly report is next on the agenda. And this is for the month of June 2020. And this is for the town. Fees collected this month were $28,020. There were 39 permits issued. There were 3 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings. There were 36 all other permits, including pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc. There were 31 number of certificates of occupancy issued. There was 1 permit issued for the use of pyrotechnic devices. And there were 2 inspections of public assembly and projects of significant. The building inspector listed service your AC filters. It saves money and it saves energy.
Good advice.
And then I do have a report for the Village of Cold Spring, also for the month of June. The amount of fees collected was $3,530. There were 9 permits issued in total. There were 2 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings. There were 7 all other permits, including pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc. 4 certificates of occupancy were issued. There were 2 stop work orders issued. There were 2 operating permits issued. And there were 2 inspections of commercial occupancies.
Well, our thanks to Greg Winter as usual. He's doing a great job for us. Seems like there's a lot of activity and there's bound to be a lot more in July when we see next month's report.
Yeah, he's been busy.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
All right, is there anything else from the board?
I just want to bring up the.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, as we've been distributing the Foodtown cars over the last several months. I just wanted to make sure everyone knows aware of it. From here on in, they're going to be at the food pantry, and the food pantry is open on Saturdays. So anyone, I don't know if they still want to call the town hall, but I think their information, if they do call the town hall, we got to let them know what they need to do. That's all.
Yeah, we've had a few calls this week, and we've informed people that the program of delivery of the Foodtown cards has been has ended, and that if they're still in need, that they can. We've given out the number to the food pantry as well, but we've notified people they can contact the food pantry on Saturday mornings.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And if anyone wants to make donations to the food pantry, they can make them tomorrow morning. I believe they're still in need of donations.
About that as well. Yeah.
I also wanted to mention that I'm the liaison to Haldane and that they started a reopening task force, which I attended the first meeting 2 weeks ago. We have another meeting tomorrow morning. As people may know, the governor's announced that sometime in August, the state will make a decision, but Haldane is, developing its own plans, and we'll wait to hear from the state.
Boy, I wouldn't want to be making those decisions. You're not going to be able to.
Challenge.
There's going to be
Big
unhappy people
challenge.
no matter what you do.
Yeah. Yep.
That is just a
I
tough.
don't know how they're gonna have. I don't know how they're gonna have any type of sports.
It's just, but I think people need to keep this thing in perspective that ultimately this will end, and they'll develop a vaccine, they'll develop treatments, those are coming along. So it's been a long, hard slog, and it's I think people are adjusting really well to wearing the masks and being courteous in public. By and large, in Philipstown, you go in Food Town, everyone is wearing a mask everywhere you go. The drugstore, the liquor store. Not that I go to the liquor store a lot, I do. But I wear my mask in there. I can't drink in the store. It's one of the things that's bothering me about this. It's the only thing, the problem I've had with the mask, really. You can't get beer through it.
You need a special straw.
But, I think Philipstown has done a really, really good job, and all of Putnam County, obviously, with the numbers that have gone down. New York State, when you look at other states, it's not good, and they did not learn. It just feels like people need to have that firsthand experience to learn a lesson, and that's unfortunate, because after what New York went through back in February and March, you would have figured other states would have looked at that and said, we don't want that to happen. And it's been proven that there are simple measures that you can take, and they're effective. Wearing a mask, number one, and social distancing, number two. So it's still very, very important. We could run this thing out if people would just abide by the rules. But those are hard lessons to learn, and it's really unfortunate that the number of people who have died, it doesn't have to be that high. But when you see some of these parties going on and clubs open and people just gathering in mass numbers, it boggles the mind. It really does. But ultimately, we're going to get over this, and things will get back to normal. It's unfortunate for the kids right now. It's really been tough. My heart goes out to all of them, all the people who graduated, all the people who are missing sports right now. It's hard. It's really hard on kids. Adults can understand these things, and we're settled in our ways. But ultimately, we'll get over this. So just want people to hang in there, keep the faith and stay to the protocols, and we'll get over it sooner.
Well, thank you.
All right. Anybody out in the audience have anything?
I just have one thing. As you all know, I lost my mother on June 7th, and I'd just like to thank this town. Has been overwhelmingly supportive to myself and my family, and the love was amazing. That everybody texting, calling, reaching out to me, and I appreciate it, as does my entire family. Thank you all.
Everybody knows everybody loves a Van Tassel family. You have to.
Thank you.
We had a Mr. Horace chatted earlier and said he would like to speak on an issue that wasn't on the agenda. Mr. Horace, can you hear me? I apologize.
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think Roy Rosenstein, who has 3 a.m. in Prague, raised his hand first, so let him go, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I called on you because you had chatted a little while ago. That's fine. I'll let Roy go first.
I raised my hand after him.
Oh, I didn't see your hand go up at all. Okay. Hold on one second. Roy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? This is Roy Rosenstein from unpaved East Mountain Road South, Mr. Shea, Richard. A lot of us on the mountain are still disappointed, as we are every few years when the town proposes to pave a bit more of our East Mountain Road South. And how we feel on this matter, I know, is no surprise to anyone, since once before the town proposed to pave this very same flat straightaway. On that occasion, one neighbor's eloquence at a town board meeting helped the board to reconsider. At that time, you yourself said, Richard, how with that decision not to pave, that might be the last of paving the mountain. Hallelujah. Yet here we are again, and it's frustrating on the road for us, and perhaps for you too, to have the same matter before us a second time on the same stretch of road when we thought it was resolved. Maybe we missed the mention of this project. When I follow board minutes, the highway reports are not included in appendix to board minutes. So not everybody saw that. In fact, when we sent out the petition just last month, I don't think everyone saw it as quickly as everyone might have liked. So much for information circulation. The updated version of the petition now has gone out to everybody, and everyone will see it sooner or later, I'm sure. It still has even more signatures of our neighbors on unpaved East Mountain Road South. Why a petition this time? It's signed by 130 individuals supporting our dirt road. That includes those threatened with paving, those as yet unpaved, and even some of those on the paved stretch who are also against further paving, plus others who walk and hike with us. I don't think we need to repeat why we're reluctant to see further paving. We don't want to see our country road turned into a speedway to Dutchess or an alternate throughway to Route 9, as DOT perhaps wishes. You've seen the deviation sign at the foot of East Mountain Road South. I don't know why it is it's always East Mountain that's paved in our county. As Bob Flaherty said last time, this is the only new paving anywhere. Why is it always us? Well, Richard, you know, and you've said that this is not a done deal. Decision is still to come, as you said last time, when you acknowledged at the last board meeting, when we reminded you of our resistance to paving. If the paving has already been voted and budgeted, I assume then you referred to public outcry, which last time around halted the very same project. So presumably you anticipated that we, the people, might do so again this time. That's democracy, right? As you remind us, the will of the people. Carl has said this paving concerns only one house, but as you see from the petition, or we'll see, 130 of us have signed because we're concerned by the progressive paving of the mountain, in which many of us up here do not want. I remember when Carl was first elected on a campaign platform of paving only at the wishes of residents. In fact, he said he will consult, and I'm sure he will, but I don't know when that'll be. Soon, I hope. He said he would be doing that in August, but as you've reminded us, this has been in the making for a year or two. Let's get to that public consultation and courtesy notification, at least. We are those most concerned by your decision, and we would have liked to have been invited sooner. So please, again, reconsider, as you did last time, this unwanted initiative on someone else's part to pave our road. As everyone knows, we own the land under the road. We own the road. We pay taxes and we elect our officials. And a mountain of us up here reject any initiative to bulldoze us. Please, thank you for hearing us out and for listening and ultimately respecting our wishes for our road. Please, thank you.
I believe Mr. Horace, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I'd like
Yes.
to see. Roy, start video, maybe. Okay. So thank you, Roy. That was great and eloquent. And I would like to start by thanking the board and Richard and the town clerk and the highway department for their hard work. And I'd like to talk about speeding. Board member John Van Tassel mentioned speeding at the June meeting. And I have to admit, just like perhaps some of you, I'm a speeder. As soon as I reach the paved section of a forest road, I go twice as fast.
Well,
so
don't.
How should we deal with speeding?
Because
In
I
New
live at the
York,
bottom,
in
don't.
Paris, on rural and major roads, everywhere around the world, alike, speeding is an issue, and the local governments spend tax money on installing speed bumps. So never mind the romantic preservation of rural character, the potholes in our dirt road are natural speed bumps. Now, some critics may badmouth our highway department, saying that they do not maintain the dirt roads on purpose to gain support for paving from people who value their suspension more than nature around them. And I can agree with that. I will praise those potholes. So what about spending the allocated money on speed bumps on the paved portions of East Mountain Road South and North and downtown Cold Spring? Now, not only cars, not only my van speeds dangerously on East Mountain Road South and North, we've been seeing groups of Harley-Davidson bikers, 20 strong, their gray beards flying as their choppers thunders through the hidden curves, 2 or 3 side by side. They will be delighted to go twice as fast and twice as numerous without the pesky potholes and dust. So thank you again, especially Richard. Thank you, Richard, for that lift you gave us from Route 9 some years ago, all the way to our then longer unpaved dirt road, East Mountain Road South. And thank you. You acknowledged at the June meeting that when you lived on North, you considered the dirt roads were indivisible part of the neighborhood character. So the homeowners bought their houses here for that character, and now there is a proposal to change the character without their consent. So never mind the democratic process, this is an attempt to diminish one of our most sacred American values, the value of real estate property. We would like to put the dirt roads on the August agenda to help us how to do it.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
We have a Bonnie Stein's hand just went up.
Okay.
Bonnie?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Yeah, my video doesn't work. I attended the June meeting. I'm also speaking on paving, and Dr. Rosenstein and Mr. Horace have said a lot of things that I wanted to say. The only thing that I would like to point out is I also heard very loud and clear and totally agree with Mr. Tassel stating how paved roads are really causing much more speeding, and that a lot of the roads in around Cold Spring and in the county are really becoming more dangerous with heavy speeding traffic. And that's exactly my personal experience, because I had an accident coming out of East Mountain Road South onto Route 9 in May 2017, after which I wrote a letter to the town, to all of you, but I mean, you probably get a lot of letters, so whatever, but I suggested possibly installing a flashing or permanent light on that intersection. And I asked that at least be acknowledged. I know it can be a really difficult intersection coming out of the paved section of East Mountain Road South. And I also know that on the dirt road sections, people go much slower. They're much more respectful. During this pandemic, there's so many more walkers on the road, and people have pretty much been respectful. And I do think that's due to the dirt road. I'm a little confused, and I do work for some other organizations in nonprofit, and I'm a secretary, and I was a little confused on, and I think, Tara, thank you. You helped me find the meeting that Mr. Shea was referring to in October, in which a paving budget was discussed. But somehow I couldn't find a notice about the October 22nd meeting. Although you sent me the budget, which seems to be an allocation for dirt, but it's not real clear to me. So if that can be explained, and if it can be turned around and possibly dropped, because highway budgets are often, due to time pressure, turned around. And I agree, if we could put this on the agenda in October, that would be great. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yes, I wanted to speak. This is Heinrich Spielman. I raised my hand a little bit ago. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm speaking on the same issue with Roy Rosenstein and the pavement of the road. I I have some specific questions. I have a document here from Philipstown Highway 2020 budget, capital improvements 5112-200. A couple of questions regarding to that. One is your budget year. Is that a fiscal year going from June 30th to July 1st, or is it a calendar year?
Calendar year.
Calendar year. Okay. Then in that budget, you're listing 500 tons of dirt for East Mountain Road north to south. I assume that is the work that you've already done, that you widened the road there and paved on it and added dirt to it. Is that correct?
I don't have the budget in front of me. It would be something I'd have to look up. I don't have that memorized.
Right. Okay. Because on that same budget sheet, there is an I think it's a 46,000 number for resurfacing for the East Mountain Road south. That's further down where Carlson the nursery is. I think so. My question specifically is which all these most recent contributions were circling around. If you're repaving the road, that must be recorded in some budget request and must be approved in a budget on a budget sheet that's publicly accessible, presumably, right?
That's correct.
So currently there is for the year 2020 until December, there is no budget allocated to blacktop the stretch East Mountain Road south to East Mountain Road north.
Again, I don't
Is
have
that
the
correct?
budget sheet in front of me, so I can't comment on that.
How can we get a confirmation on that?
I could speak to the highway super tomorrow, and pull out the
Okay.
budget.
Mm-hmm. That would be great, because I think a lot of the uncertainties here, what Roy Rosenstein was talking about, what Horjesh was talking about, Bonnie Stein talking about, is it's unclear what is really planned, what the town really plans on that road, and there were a lot of rumors around, people
There's always plenty of
talking,
those.
yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. It would be really helpful to get some clarity.
Well, can I just be clear? We actually approved the paving of that section, I'm going to say 2 years ago, Richard, at least.
Right.
And the small section, there was a portion of it done around the little lake there. I don't remember the name of the residence there. That section was done. And when that was done, it was also approved to continue. Unfortunately, the blacktop plant closed because it was late in the season when we finally got to it, and then we never did it. So it was brought, I would have to pull the budget, but I believe it was 2 years ago.
More than 2 years ago.
Maybe more than two, yes. And we had the residents that lived there petitioning us to do it because they were overwhelmed with dust. So that's why we had approved that entire section. We're talking about a 2,000-foot section from where the paving currently ends to the top of East Mountain North.
To where the other pavement.
This has been vetted, it's been spoken. We've had public hearings. We had it proposed in our budget proposal last year from the highway superintendent to finally get it through.
What is that, the paving East Mountain Road north to south with dirt, with 500 tons dirt? What is that about then? If you're paving it, if you're blacktopping it, why is there a budget number in there for dirt?
Maybe for the remainder of East Mountain South. Again, I don't have the budget in front of me, but I'm sure that's
Right.
what it is.
That's somehow, to me, that's really confusing. I don't understand what's going on. Maybe that's contributing to it. But also to follow up, you didn't finish the paving. Is your intention to complete that paving up to East Mountain Road North, to the where it forks off?
That was the intent, yes.
Yes.
I know it was. Is it still?
Yes. Mine, yes.
So then back to Rosenstein's question, there is a petition that's out there where I'm not sure how many signatures are petitioning you not to do it. Does that count, or is that disregarded because it was already approved?
Well, of course it counts.
So what certainty do we have that that we're part of this process, and that we follow up, that we're being included in it, that we know what's going on?
Well, John, tomorrow, can you speak to Carl about this?
Sure.
See the budget
Absolutely.
line, then we could always schedule a workshop and meet with the people who are concerned about this.
Okay.
I think that would be helpful.
Sounds that way, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's my questions. I don't have
All right.
anything else.
There is a Karen who has her hand up.
Okay.
Karen?
Hi, am I unmuted now?
You are.
Thank you for letting me speak. I want to echo what Dr. Rosenstein and the past few speakers have said, and I'm surprised that Mr. Shea was influenced by what he calls a petition of a few residents on East Mountain Road South wanting the road paved to control the dust, because I doubt that that measures up to the 130 people who this year have expressed a strong desire to not have it paved.
Well,
I'd like to point-
it was actually a health concern. The people were suffering from asthma that lived in the house that was very close to the road, and they were going to have to leave their home.
Well, there are ways of keeping the dust from coming up with proper maintenance of a dirt road.
Okay.
What I'd like to point out is that I've heard a lot of arguments about the opinion of the people who live on the road, and I do understand that these are the voting constituents who you're concerned and want to serve, but there is a very large constituent of people in the whole New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area who value places where they can go to be in the country.
Well,
And this
ma'am, I'm going to
specific-
stop you right there. I'm going to stop right there. This is a local issue for local residents who live in the town of Philipstown. I'm not going to take somebody's opinion from New Jersey about my town or from Connecticut. That's a bridge too far for me.
And we have quite a few trails that they could hike on.
Local issue. That section was paved due to a health concern. Those people are full-time residents that live right on the road. Their health was being impacted negatively, so we acted, and they were overjoyed about that and were able to stay in their home. I'm glad we did it. We can have a longer discussion on this in August. If people want to attend a workshop, we'll set one up.
That would be wonderful. I'd like to hear more people discuss this. Thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, this topic is hardly new. There's never anything new brought to light. I understand the will of the people. Look, if we're compelled by enough people who live on the road, who are residents here, not from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut,
Renters.
take another look at it. But for tonight, we're going around in circles. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I was out on a roof all day today. John was framing all day today. So we'd like to wrap this up.
Karen, can I just get your last name for the record, please?
Krebs, Karen Krebs.
Thank you. I have no more hands up, so.
Terrific.
Oh,
All right. We have no vacancies. Could I get a motion to adjourn? Oh,
So
actually,
moved.
oh, sorry. We haven't gone through the
vouchers.
approval of vouchers. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Approval of
Yeah, get the
vouchers. General.
So moved.
Second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Highway, including
So
paving.
moved.
Oh. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote
Aye.
aye. Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Time to say goodnight. Motion to adjourn.
We do
Good
have,
night. Be
So
well.
moved.
we do have one more hand up.
Well, what's
think
it in
we're-
reference to?
I don't.
Dirt road discussion is over.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Aye, so,
Take care.
all right, thanks,
Take
everybody.
care, wear
Have a
your
great,
mask.
all
Yeah.
right.
Wear your mask.
Social distance.